Ta-da, what is happening out there, my friends? Yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Well, I'm glad I'm able to go live because we got the shutters down because tomorrow the roof has got to come out. I not only got to do the roof, but they got to do the fascia on this side and the gutters, so I had to get my shutters down. So I'm glad I'm able to make this happen. Let's see. So we got Dwight Bailey. What's happening, Dwight? What is happening? Long time no see, man. Hope all is well. Oh yeah, this is a great little acoustic guitar. This little Ibanez. Um, this is this output. You could either do XLR or 1/4 inch. Nice little finish. Back and sides. This reminds me. This back reminds me on our Gibson Les Paul. It's the natural mahogany. Uh, and yeah, it's a great little guitar. Um, got this. We got this. I think maybe 2015 at the Naperville, Illinois Guitar Center when we were still living in the Chicagoland area. And actually, a friend of mine who was a former student was working there. I think he still works there. And he was the one that did, we did the sale. He was the salesman. So, nice little guitar. I'll tell you what, guys. I'm using these Ernie Ball. I think they're called the Burley set. They're electric guitar strings, but they're heavy. They're a half a point underneath acoustic, like the Diodario 011s. And the reason being, it's got a plain 18, which for acoustic guitar I am used to a wound, but because of playing the classical guitar, your trebles are not wound on a classical guitar. But the main reason on the Breedlove is because I still got my Roland pickup on here. But another reason is these strings don't tarnish like the Farser Bronze. I mean, you put them on and a few days later, they're already dirty. They're sweated up, even though no matter how many times you clean them, it's like they don't really last. And I know they got the coated strings. I've tried those too. But in the heat and humidity, it just, even when we were still living up in Illinois, and I'd be playing at the Bristol Renaissance Fair, I'd be burning through those strings left and right. So I just went with these. I like the harder tension, For my picking, for basically the sake of my picking here, I don't like wobbly strings. I'm going to be working on that piece. It's good. I'm gonna have to section it off piece by piece, but that is a very small section of Chick Corea when he had his band Return to Forever, the title track "Romantic Warrior," and that's the acoustic piece. It's a killer. It's a killer song for people who like jazz fusion. I mean, I still like my rock and metal, and I got my friends that are diehard metal heads that hate jazz. That's fine, do what you want, But I will say, with that kind of music, it reminds me of the jam sessions that I have with my guitar buddies back in the early, after I just graduated high school, like in the early '80s, and Andy and Angel and Louie and Yvonne and Rob, we'd have these massive jam sessions. It was basically that, and then get into the new movement of metal back then. It was a great time. What I want to do is, it is a great guitar. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, plugged in, it sounds great too. A lot of these acoustic guitars, even the Breedlove and even expensive Taylors, for the electronics, I don't know. I don't understand why they don't put a control for your mid range. Because when you plug them in, they could sound very boxy. And at least with the mid range, you could kind of scoop it a little bit and get more of, because of the way these pickups are. Now on the Cordoba, or Cordoba, however you want to pronounce it, I got full range on that thing, and that guitar always sounds great. Um, Before I get into the topic, I want to, again, for those who are down here and do work in the medical field and the EMTs, our firefighters, our policemen, our electricians, and not just down here, but the ones who came from all the outside states to help us in our recovery down here. God bless you guys. We still see the disaster relief trucks going by, picking up some of the debris that's left, and it's a very long, slow process. The cleanup down here. It really is, because that's how much damage. The damage is up in the billions. But yet these people that come from different states that came down and donated their time to help us out, man, God bless them. I can never say enough good about them. I mean, it was unreal. And with that being said, and the topic of basically the future of music, and it's something that I wanted to talk about, because I knew I've seen or heard talk about this, about half a year or so ago, maybe a little longer. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because with what has happened down here, losing about 75% of places to play, now little by little things are, coming back. And, obviously I am out there gigging, but I'm not, my Saturday gigs are kind of like hit or miss, until they could get reopened. There's problems with the permits and everything, but it has affected a lot of the gigs and a lot of the musicians down here. So what I'm going to talk about is something I had seen. It's in lines of something I've seen, not on this guy Brad the guitarist just recent live stream, or as post Saturday or whatever Friday. His previous one, we was talking about how bands are cashing out, and selling their catalogs, the rights to their catalogs. And I like recently, I guess the band Yes had done that, and they're cashing out, and everyone's getting older, and I saw this video, and I had because I knew it popped up, but how things pop up in the feed, and I had to refine it. So I typed in what the future of Kiss is. And the reason why I'm mentioning Kiss, I respect them. I liked them. I was never really big super fan, but I liked them. I thought they had a good, a great show, obviously. Well, since everyone's selling out their catalogs, and I'm having a nice cup of Joe in the Joe Wentz Project coffee mug. Gotta give him a shout out, man. Great guy, great channel. You too, Dwight. Great guy, great channel, man. Great music. Deb and I went to the final tour to see Kiss. And that goes back to 1999. Psycho Circus, 2000. And, it's been going on and on and on for 23 years. Well, I guess now finally there's like, okay, I guess we got to kind of watch and pull the plug here. And I had thought I had heard rumors about this. But then when I looked it up, and sure enough, there's these interviews with, there's a channel called Rockfeed News, and they were talking about Gene Simmons saying, yeah, this is going to be the final tour, and Gene Simmons saying that it's not off the table to maybe continue on with Kiss, because it is a great live show. So he said something to the fact that, well, we could find, 4 young guys in their 20s that we pick, that they could be willing to put on the makeup and continue on with the show. And I thought, I could kind of see this coming. Maybe not with everybody, but with the show that they have, I could see them continuing on, because the basic main theme of Kiss was they were characters. And then later on, we took their makeup off. But the main thing was they were characters. So how do we keep, if some people want to keep, call it the comic book characters, you're going to have your Kiss Army out there. They're always going to be, diehard Kiss fans. So how do they keep this momentum going? They're obviously, Gene and Paul still like to play, but we are getting older. All of us are getting older. He's older than me, and that's for sure. Maybe by, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 7 years. I don't know, maybe even more. And I'm 59. So what does that say about him? But whether you like him or whether you don't like him, or whether you like his, you don't like his, I have to mention this because this could be a starting point in a new chapter of how music could kind of evolve without it totally changing and going away. So he had made mention that, well, I keep it going. Like I said, we'll get, he mentions four guys that they pick, and we send them out there, kind of like the Blue Man Group. I knew exactly where he was going with this. Is you could even bring this down to more simple simplicity, without even using music. You got people that they buy into franchises, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or you know what I mean. They keep it going. So, and it's interesting when he made the comment about 4 guys that are willing to put their makeup on that we pick. So now, what could this possibly do for all the cover and the tribute bands? And this could start to alter things, hopefully not in a negative way for the cover and tribute bands, but at the same time, not for the people that own the rights to the music either. And people could argue, well, they made their money now. Yeah, a lot of us are old enough to remember when we would say the record companies are ripping everybody off, and not all of them were, but yeah, that was definitely going on. And now it's payback time for the record companies that screwed everybody over, this, that, and the other. Now it's payback time. Okay. But see, this all goes back to the idea of having free music and how progressively things have been coming out with about copyright infringements and copyright strikes. And, you'll see it more and more happening on YouTube, and more people are talking about it. But it isn't just on YouTube. I'll run into people that I have conversations with after the show when I'm packing up, after our gigs, and they're all in agreement that there's certain songs you just can't play because we got to reconnect. Okay, good. We're live again. Okay. And then I'm gonna check this live stream, and if it comes out all goofy and that, then I'll do maybe another one, or maybe with the camera. Well, I gotta clear my phone because it's all filled up with the memory's all filled up, and maybe I'll do a video on this. I think this is kind of important to understand because we could start to see a shift out there in the gigging world, and meaning that if they go through with this and they franchise and lease out the music, this, that, whatever it is that they're going to do, but they're choosing the musicians, or they run an ad and say, hey, let's take the major cities right off the top, of course, New York, but obviously Las Vegas, and then Los Angeles, and maybe Chicago, and maybe Miami. Take all the major areas that we know that we could put on a production show, all at the same time, maybe, So obviously they're going to have, several Kiss tribute bands that they own, that they are going ahead and giving the A-OK, yep, you're qualified, you're certified, you're going to be our guys that's going to continue out with music. Yeah, you'll get paid, but we get paid up front first, and you get paid. So this could basically start a trend where other bands start to see this. And the reason why I mention this, because where do you not know in your area where you see these tribute bands? You could see a Kiss tribute band, maybe AC/DC tribute band, Led Zeppelin tribute band, Journey tribute band, Aerosmith tribute, all the classics, right? And if this is a trend that starts to, happen, and all these people that are getting older start seeing this and say, hey, wait a minute, and what Gene Simmons says, we could make occasional appearances at some of these gigs, and yeah, that's great. Well, these other people could be thinking about the same thing because they're all getting older. but they're not ready to hang up. But at the same time, the body's beaten up, and there's only so much you can physically do as you get older. So how do we keep the train going? Well, this is one way of doing it. And so they pick all the bands. They maybe do an audition, or they pick the bands that they see fit, that they want qualified. Go ahead and go out there. So, and then they get the idea. Well, let's start branching off in some more of the areas. Now, more area we cover, more money we can make, right? So you happen to be in a tribute band. Let's say you're doing a Kiss tribute band in the area that is not too far, maybe a town or two towns down from where the we call it the qualified tribute band is. Okay, and it doesn't take long for these people to track what's going on. This is how they're catching people. And if you think that they do not send, that's called PROs, performance rights organizations, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC. If you think they do not send these people out to the clubs, they do. Because I'll never forget, it was 2 weeks before we did the gig, one of our final gigs in Illinois, at this place called Danny's Pub in Naperville. And the owner comes up to us and asks us, do we have our own music? And she tells us a story. And I said, yeah, we got our own music. And she tells us a story about the guy that came out. He was a representative from BMI and showed the qualifications and was going to slap a fine on her because she's in a public place. She's a restaurant that's open to the public, and you're making money off of this. And it says in all these songbooks, way on the bottom, it will say public performance in conjunction with everything else, internet, it's a violation of the law, reproduction, all this, that, the third. Public performance is in there. So for some people, it's not fair. It's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? We've been doing this for years. Now all of a sudden we're having this issue. Well, thanks to the free music being out there, there went all the stores, Coconut Records, Tower Records, Crow's Nest Records, all these places, because back then, I know a lot of people remember when the ticket sales were cheap. I remember back in the 80s, Deb and I, we talk about this a lot. You could go see, 3 killer bands, an opening band. I remember seeing it was back in 1982. We saw the Scorpions, Iron Maiden, and a band called Girl School. 3 killer metal. I think we paid maybe tops was $15. I remember we saw again Maiden with Quiet Riot, $15. I mean, everything was between the $12.50 and $15 range, And then you buy the t-shirts. T-shirts were always a little bit higher, but not like they are now. So you buy a t-shirt, and then if you hear them playing new stuff that you haven't heard, oh, this is great, I like this. Then you go out, the next day, and you go to the record store and you buy the record, the cassette tape record, or when CDs would come out, you buy the CD. So those days are gone. So yeah, I agree with people when they start complaining about the price gouging on some of these tickets, and you want to see your favorite band, and then it's like some guy comes out with a walker, and you think, well, it's Sound Crew, their grandfather. No, that's the main act. Oh, crap. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but we've seen it happen. And then the performance kind of suffers. Or recently, in one of these videos, they were complaining about Paul Stanley singing to tracks. A lot of them will sing to tracks. Well, and of course, Gene Simmons took the heat of knocking people who are playing to tracks. If you're paying all this money, if you're paying $100 for a ticket, you should see a live performance. And then what happens? They go and they do exactly what they're knocking. Well, at some point, they want to keep things going. The tracks, I guess, that Paul Stanley was sinking, he did lay down those tracks, and he was actually singing along with them. So, and this is something that happens, Super Bowl's coming up. A lot of those performances are half live, half tracks, because major bucks is involved, is invested. So, I'm not saying everyone's doing it, but a lot of them are. So, and actually, it goes back to the days, even in the 60s, it may probably in the 50s, in the old American Bandstand, Dick Clark, there's the band playing. You look, the guitar player's not plugged in, they're playing. There's a guitar, a bass, a keyboard, and a female singer, and the guitar player's strumming, and somewhere you hear a guitar solo, then all of a sudden, he's fingering a little bit, and then all of a sudden the music fades, including the drums. Now, with volume pedals, we could fade, or with a sound guy, you could bring it down, but with a live mic that's being picked up, you could still hear the ringing of the cymbals. You know what I mean? So, and the music's fading, but the cymbals are, and of course, so this is something that's been done all the time, and it's kind of hard to knock it, and it's kind of hard not to knock it. It's like a catch-22. But my point I'm trying to make here is that we could start seeing something happening in the club world, in the gigging world, and it could go, and I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm in for the people that are just heavily relying on nothing but covers and their tribute acts, and they're heavily relying on it. They love it. Hopefully they could continue on. But what could happen is that now, if this starts to take off, which chances are it might, because people are going to see the opportunity that they're going to have to make that money. Then they could say, all right, well, if you want to play our music, why don't we do this? You would have to lease it. You pay for X amount of songs you're going to play, and maybe you have like an annual fee, or twice a year you pay a fee. And then, okay, you got your receipt. You could show that you bought these songs. You could play at these places. You could cover a multitude of clubs, in conjunction with passing that on to the club owner, because sometimes they can say, well, look, we're a restaurant or we're a banquet hall. Other than we host meetings, and when we're having business meetings, they're not having music. So why should we be the ones constantly paying into this? And we're not even the performers. So why don't we pass it on to the performers? They're the ones playing, and they do that. I can't get into too much detail because it's through certain friends of ours, but that happened to them. The venue says, well, look, we're not going to pay, but you're the performer, you pay. And that's what? I had to pay. So what could happen is they could start, like I said, leasing this stuff out. And whether you think it's fair or not fair, where they will have all of us is, again, they're holding the rights, and they could get progressively harder with these performance rights and public performance rights. They could really, if they wanted to, we would not have that leg to stand. That's why I always said, I love doing the covers I do and the versions of I do, but I lean more to doing originals, and I, like a lot of people, we're just, if you're creative, you're going to lean more toward doing your own music, because that's how you're wired, and that's your thing. So if we were ever start getting these emails and say, look, we appreciate your efforts and your interest, and you like our music and that, but now we're going to start having these other people, who knows, maybe they'll pick your band, right? And they'll say, Dave, we got so-and-so out there, so we're giving them the qualification to go out there and play it. We would like if you would not go ahead and perform, because now we're setting up our, I don't have a problem with that. I would miss it, some of it, because then what would happen? I would just play those songs here without it being streamed or no YouTube or anything, and just for my own, personal enjoyment. See, the thing is that when you start making money off of this, you're making money off of someone else's work, and this is what's going on. And I know it might sound kind of petty for some, but because there's that much of a loss that happened, it gets progressive. They have to make their money back. And that's what's going on. And whether we like it or not, it is their work, unless it goes up in public domain. Not too long ago, we were going to resurrect our Guitar Heroes, which is this poster up here. And what we were going to do is, again, go through the music that we were doing, that we started to do back in Illinois. And we kind of started doing it a little bit down here. So then we contacted, and we're gonna get more heavily with the stage shows just before COVID hit. So we contacted our attorney, and she got back with us, and she's an entertainment attorney. And we have another. She's in California, and we have another attorney back in Chicago. We were using a lot, and he's downtown Chicago, and we sent them the list of songs we were gonna play, and we asked, okay, so which is in the public domain, and which ones you think we will not have issues with. Every single song we sent that we were gonna do came back. None of them was in the public domain, and we were told, be careful because they can shut it down, or they can start charging, or they could do these things because unless we don't get that okay, then there could be issues, and we wouldn't have a leg to stand on really. We could rebuttal because we were going to sell tickets on these shows, and we were going to make money off of their work. And I said, well, yeah, I understand that. So we kind of scratched that. Not just doing the stage shows. What scratched that was the COVID thing, because when I started talking to people in conjunction with the Guitar Heroes and celebrating the golden days of when because in rock music the guitar is the main instrument. You see people playing air guitar. You don't see people playing, well, people might do air drums a bit, but not air keyboards or air flute or anything like that. It's always air guitar. So it's a very popular instrument. So I do remember talking at this one venue. We were talking with a couple of guys because they happened to be in when we were meeting with the management and going over the whole rental of the place and where we were set up and the criteria that we have to meet and this, that, and the other. And we got our insurance. A lot of places you can do this stuff. You got to have insurance. If you do anything outdoors, you got to get the permits. So you have to look into all this to make sure you got all the bases covered. But there was a couple of guys there. I guess they would have some sort, because it was like a community, a 55 community, something like that. Nice golf course, and a couple of guys there. They heard what we were talking about, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, we like guitar music. That's awesome." Blah blah, this, that, and the other. And then I started talking about the different styles, and then they started getting interested in the jazz rock fusion thing, because they were all, they're older than me, and they remember all that. So the interest is there. It just, you don't see it as much because no one talks about it. But you start talking about it with these people. I'm not saying that everyone's gonna fall all over it, but you are gonna get those people, and they got friends, and they'll tell their friends, and they'll all come out, and they'll come out to the show. Now the thing is that how this could happen just with just the average cover band playing in a bar. Um, maybe nothing will affect you. If you're heavily relying on this, maybe nothing will affect you. However, if they jump on this bandwagon, they could say, well, again, here, you join this organization, and you have to pay a fee. And if that happens, don't let it bum you out, because at least you will still be able to play and make money. You always got to remember, if you're making money off of someone else's work, you're going to have to expect that. And, when we were talking with our attorney, she was just polite, and just, she's a nice lady. And, here's what you got to watch out for. Here it is, and basically, when you look at all this, I've heard people say, well, that kind of isn't fair. We've been supporting these bands and going to the concerts and buying. Yeah, you've been doing it as a fan because that's what that's for. And of course they appreciate it. But see, now when you go from fan to competitor, now it's like, hey, well, wait a minute. We're still out there and we need to make our money because it's very expensive to go out on the road. And here's another thing. If they, with the example of KISS, if they decide to franchise this, well, see, then they don't have to have tour buses anymore. I mean, I'm not saying in a negative way, but now they got all these cities, major cities and major concert halls. They got all those bases covered. So then you don't really need to spend all that money on renting the trucks, renting the buses. Everyone knows that the acts in Vegas, sometimes you're there months on end. The act is there. So I could see, and I could see where maybe bands like Aerosmith could jump on this because I think in Great America, when we were still living in Illinois, they had a Aerosmith ride, and I also think in Disney they got the Aerosmith roller coaster ride and that. So they're gonna start to branch off and start to see what other avenues they can make money with their brand, with their music, and this is a very strong possibility. And I thought it was very interesting. And when I was talking with Deb, she goes, "Oh yeah, I could see this as a possibility." And if it is a possibility that might happen, again, what's it gonna do to all the other bands out there that's playing the music? You know, will you be, you know, asked not to do this anymore because we already have our acts and we're out there playing and we're making the money, so we want to put a stop to it? Or will they say, okay, well, if you still want to continue on, okay, well, here's the fee. You got to pay a fee. I mean, just kind of think of it as if you're in a situation, and a lot of people are, where you're trying to make your mark in the music industry. You're trying to make that name for yourself, and you're climbing that ladder, and you got this music that's out there. Obviously, you have to do that. When when you graduate from high school, you either go to college or a trade school, or you go to work. At some point, you have to pull yourself away from this, meaning if it's the covers, if you want to make your mark on it. That's when you have to start writing your music, picking the covers that you want to do. But the show has to be most, especially if you got a CD that's released, or music that's released, you're selling. You have to, you have to focus on that. Especially if you got people that invested money in you. They invested money in you, what you got, not you pretending to be somebody else, unless that is the criteria. Then they'll pick and choose and say, okay, well, we want to team up with Gene Simmons and get the Kiss tribute thing going on, and guess what? We think you'll be a good candidate. Why don't you sign up, knowing that there's a possibility that it could be, a big turnover. People stick around for a year or two, maybe longer, and say, you know what, I want to go back and doing my music here. I made enough money now. I made my contacts. Now I want to go off, and let's say the bass player leaves. So here's another bass player that comes in. Here's the Rolodex of all the phone numbers of all the of all the people that's in that area. I mean, I could see this where this is a strong possibility. And then I could also see where, hopefully, again, for the cover bands that really rely on this, and because they have the passion for it, not just because it's not just a money thing, but that's a big part of it, though. That is a big part of it. If they have the love of the music and they want to keep it going, hopefully they could, these people that own the rights to this music could say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll lease it out for you. Will you be willing to do that? Because that's the only alternative. If not, well, then go ahead and write your music. And what that'll also force the club owners to say, hey, geez, if we want music, the whole thing is starting to change again. And maybe we ought to give these people a chance to have their music, that write their own music, and give them that chance. I've seen it where I've talked with people that they say, I'm talking about the average listener, that just go to these places, to have some food and a drink and that, enjoy the sights, and they'll say, man, I'm sick and tired of hearing some of these songs, man. I go here, I go to a place, across town, they're playing the same song. It's like I can't get away from it. And with the thought of, you start writing your own music and getting the gigs, I'll tell you what, there is nothing like people responding positively to something you wrote. At Monday's gig, the first few songs I played was my originals, and they responded very well to it. Part of it is because you get those people that they like that kind of music, and I've had this conversation quite often where we would tell our friends down here, our musician friends down here, that when we were doing all these all this travel with our music, and it really was based on my music. It wasn't based on, well, he doesn't sing, or does he sing, or does he do covers, or what cover do you do? None of it was based on that. they liked the way I sounded. So we'd get these gigs and we'd hit the road. And I'm not saying you cannot do that. I'm not saying you can't do that with covers, but here's the thing. If you start charging a lot of money, they could come back and say, well, why should I pay you all this money when there's a band down the street that could come in $150 for the whole band? They don't care. And you could go charge, you know, $1,050, $1,050, or 1,000, you know, yeah, $1,050. Why should I pay that when I could pay $150 for the whole band? You gotta save money. So you see, this is what I mean. But I just thought it was very interesting with this idea of franchising the music and spreading it out, like the Blue Man Group. That's exactly what he was saying. You know, the Blue Man Group was a kind of an ingenious idea, because you have that act, you're just hiring the different players all over the place. You know, you'll see that at these theaters too. You know, we got, let's see, right here in the area, right off the top of my head, we have Cultural Park Theater. Down the road here, we got it's called Players Theater. It's real tiny. I looked inside, it's real tiny, but it's nice though. We got Broadway Palms, which we did a gig at Broadway Palms. It's a nice bigger theater. We got the Barbara B. Mann Theater, which is, you see Conscious. We saw Ted Nugent there, and then we saw just recently Johnny Mathis there. And then we saw the Dio show, where they did the hologram of Ronnie James Dio, and they had the band come out and play. That was great. Great sounding hall. So, and every town will have a theater. And not just a movie theater, but a theater with stage plays and things of that nature, concerts. So, when you got these bands that are thinking about these ideas, well, that puts them having their tribute band that they qualified to go out and play, and play their music. In the area that you might, down the street, there's a bar that's going to have cover music. And again, I could be wrong. Maybe it won't affect, maybe it won't. But if it does, just be prepared, because the amount of money that has got lost, that the industry does try to recover, it's quite interesting. Just think of it this way: those of you out there who remember all the record stores you had. I'm not talking about a section at Best Buy or Walmart or whatever, and you still have some of the used records shops. That's cool, but back then we had that, but we also had all these record stores, and that was the only way you could get your music, if you go and buy or you listen to the radio. So you had to buy the album or the CD or the cassette tape. Whatever it was you were buying, you had to spend the money. So that was money that they were making. And of course, obviously, we know what happens. The artist makes pennies on the dollar, and then the company, the production company, they're the ones that get, and the producers and the management, they're the ones that collect that money. And when they lose it, they're going to find a way to make it up on the backside. I know, I remember when Lars from Metallica with Napster got all excited. That started that ball. I also remember in like the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s, all these phone providers got this idea: we'll give away free music. And I'm wondering how many of them were trying to slide through the cracks and not paying the artists, the production company, the music company, not paying them, because they're making money right here, and we could put more of it in our pocket. And probably what happened, they pissed off some of these people. It says, hey, wait a minute, that's why you don't see them giving away free music. At least I haven't seen it. You sign up to AT&T or Verizon and we'll give you free. They don't do that anymore. So something had happened. They probably said, hey, wait a minute, you're not paying up, we're cutting the cord. And they have the right to, because again, it's in black and white. And that's how they could get people. Whenever you have to go to court, Because if it ever does get to that point, just keep in mind that things you sign that's in writing is going to stand. It used to be, I mean, years ago, a handshake meant something, but it doesn't mean anything anymore. It just means you shook their hand. But they want to turn around and backstab you, which is wrong. We know that's morally and ethically wrong, but they'll do it. And then if you got nothing in writing to protect yourself, that's how they get you. I remember there was a band when I was in when I was in Fourth Rising. The video we put up about the Monroe custom guitar, and that show was back in 1989. Um, we did another gig there, and I remember there was a guy that had this band called Aftermath, and the second gig we did there, which I don't have recorded, he just bought a brand new Les Paul, the Les Paul Standard, beautiful guitar. He did let me play it for a song or two, and he just liked the way I played, and I was very grateful. And he said, "But Dave, please don't swing it around." I said, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that. No, I won't do that with mine. I'm not gonna do it with yours." Well, his band Aftermath, when I think it was Ice Cube in the '90s, had a record production company called Aftermath. And there was an article about this in the Illinois Entertainer that, yeah, so and so, Ice Cube won the case against so and so from the metal band called Aftermath. Well, what happened was the metal band Aftermath was around before, because again, it was 1989. They were around in the Chicagoland area, and this was like the early to mid 1990s when this happened. I think this was no, it could have been mid 1990s. And when I read that article, I'm like, well, yeah, because this guy's got more money, so meaning Ice Cube, so he could afford to hire attorneys, so he could afford this to go after the little guy. And what happens? They just string you out until you run out of money. Now you're SOL. So I guess what I'm going at with this is that you just got to keep these things in mind. Now that's with someone going to take someone else's name. Now you put in perspective the people that actually own the rights to this music, and you're just a cover band, and maybe a very good one at that. But if they want to cut the cord on it, there's nothing you can really do. Because when you go to court, you see, that's like when they would say, you can mail the cassette tape to yourself and not open the package, and that'll prove that you own the rights to it, copyright, and then you can go ahead and do that. But then when you go to court, they're gonna say, "Oh, wait a minute, when we had to do this, register all our music, they send you this certificate that it's registered." Now, we never had to go to court or anything like that. But if that ever would have happened, we got the registration form that this is what we did. So the judges say, well, you claim you wrote the song before Dave did, like maybe 5 minutes before he did, but he actually did it, and he went through took the time to register it. So it's gonna go in his favor and not yours. Or if you get a good judge that says, well, wait a minute, you're the ones that wrote it before you. I'm going to side with you. So you might luck out and have them go in your favor. But a lot of times it doesn't happen. So it's always wise to say, you know what, look at it for what it is. Don't get upset about it, and then find ways to write it. I always use this as an example. I know there's some people that don't like this, and I understand why, because I used to think like this too. And I kind of do. I see it, but now I kind of have it from a different perspective, because the example I'm going to use is Led Zeppelin and then Greta Van Fleet. And I know there's a lot of people say, well, they ripped off Led Zeppelin. Okay, they took that sound, they got inspired by it. Yeah, I guess you could say that, But now after I've seen all this go down with the cover bands, the tribute bands, and then all the bands we used to have there. We were part of the music scene where it was all original. And I saw the decline of that. And then, it got popular for the cover bands and that, and people say, well, that's what people want to hear. That's what people want. I understand. But when you feed into it and you're only giving them that, then they think that's all that's out there. Because I've had these conversations with people that do write their music, and I asked them, well, why don't you play your own music? Oh, they don't want to hear my music. Well, do you ever play it? No, I don't play it. Well, that's why. They don't know it. You have to kind of be like the radio station that keeps pushing that song. That's number one, and you can't stand it, Then eventually, from hearing it all over, all the time, you're going to start to like it. That's only because they got to push that product. They're not in business. McDonald's is not in business to sell you a Whopper. They're in business to sell you a Big Mac, and vice versa. So they got to push their product. That's what's going on. And a lot of people understand it. They understand it when it's put in terminology like that. But for whatever reason, music is always this very mystique thing because it's something we listen to. Now, especially now, no one buys CDs anymore, right? So there's this mystique about it. Well, I'm listening to it anyway. You're listening. No one buys. And we all do. We all watch YouTube videos and all that. So this could be kind of like a game changer. But protect yourself. Just protect yourself and just be aware that this could happen. And like I said, with the Greta Van Fleet and Led Zeppelin, they took that sound and continued on with it. Be nice if Led Zeppelin goes back, but see, they're old now. And they could say, hey, we're going to have a qualified Led Zeppelin. And we used to have a couple of tribute bands back in the Chicagoland area. We had a band called Presence, and then we had a band called No Quarter. There was another one, I can't remember what they were called now. But those were basically the two main ones, Presence and No Quarter. Then you got like the band Led Zeppelin, the girl band, and then you had the Iron Maidens. So who knows, on the backside, the people in Iron Maiden might be saying, well, hey man, we're getting older. How do we keep the train moving forward? Well, let's do this. Or they could see these girls got this band and they could approach them and say, hey, look, we want our music and our show to continue, so would you want to be part of this? And, obviously we'll pay you, but understand that this is what it's going to be. And, now, because we own the rights, this is our music. But we want you to go ahead and continue and carry it on. And then we'll start booking, the major shows. They may even do that with the classic rock. I know they had the classic rock cover band that's out there. And they might even be doing that. All these artists, they're picking the songs for the band to play. Say, okay, look at this, what's going on, guys. I broke my hip, and I can't go out there and perform anymore. So we want to keep the music fresh, keep it out there. And it helps us make money. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of relive what we did. You know what I mean? Since you're a big fan and you're doing an excellent job at, recreating our music, yeah, come aboard. See, that's what would be cool about all this, because it's going to be fair for both parties, and you're not going to have this button heads, And who knows? It might start to open up doors for, on YouTube. And you might, again, it might be a situation where the band's got to pay, or the bands will get paid, but the major artist gets the big bucks, and then the money trickles down. Just like you're at your day job. You got the boss, the owner, the management, and then the employees. You know what I mean? No different. I think that could start to relieve a little bit of the tension that I do see out there. And it's not just on, trust me, it's not just on YouTube. We're out there, we're talking with these club owners. I talk a lot with these club owners. And when I do and when Deb does, we see what's going on out there. And that's why, one of the reasons why we get these gigs is that they realize that we're easy to work with. We see what's going on. We're not assuming. You start assuming, and you can start to really, screw yourself over. Walk into a place you want to play at, and you see all the decor, and you see the prices on the menu, and they're making money. How do you know? Are you their bookie? Maybe more money is being spent than being made. You know, there are times I've butt heads with some of these people, and I just turn the page and I walk away and leave it. You know, leave it alone. I'm not gonna start to trashing and bashing, and I'm not gonna mention names. That's why I try my best not to mention names because honestly, everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes. I'm wrong. You know, I've been wrong, and there are people that might not like my content on my channel, and that's fine. That's okay. You know, they have their reasons now. But when I'm wrong, you know, it's like okay, I gotta redeem myself. But I also have to understand that I could apologize, and I would apologize absolutely. But I have to understand that okay, they might not trust me. They need to see a certain amount of time so I could prove myself. So that's what happens with these club owners and that. So my point is that they have to pay into all these rights, and a lot of them they're getting sick of it. They're getting just sick of it. They're starting to see, well, geez, you know, maybe a minimum is $5 grand a year, and I'm not seeing the return on the investment. Maybe once in a while, a big crowd comes in. Yeah, you know, having fun. Yeah, but a lot of times, you know, I get just as much coming in, and it's not always physical bodies in there. Because you could pack a place, and if no one's buying anything, the cash register reflects everything. That's what that's what matters right there. That cash register reflecting. The reflection of the cash register, not the reflection of the body standing there. Yeah, it could look impressive when people are walking by or driving by. Ooh, that must be a hot spot, you know. And then when people find out, yeah, they just let us in, you know. You can nurse your drink and stay all day, you know. Well, at some point, they're going to say, well, we're not making that much money. So then when they start to look at it, geez, you know, Sunday afternoon we had a football or basketball game on, or tennis or underwater weaving basket contest, or whatever it is. And I made just as much, I might have made more money, and I don't have to pay a band, nor do I have to pay the rights. Now, I don't know what goes on with the sporting events. I don't know if some of these people got to pay into that. Maybe they do. Maybe they do and they're not, or it's being floated because it's not. Sports right now seems to be a lot more popular than music. So it's the music that it does the suffering. So they're going to be the ones that could come out like vultures, some of them, and they'll say, "No, we want our money. Pay up, pay up, pay up." You know, we lost money. But if they want to do that with the sporting events, you know, that's a whole different area. I don't know about. But if it's the same concept, it's going to be the same concept. This is why you've seen a lot of places convert from a live music venue, bar and grill, to a sports bar and grill. Well, we used to have music, but you know, we're getting like too much trouble. And I can't blame these people because they gotta make a living. You know, anyone that's in the restaurant business, you know a lot more than I do. I play at these places, but I see what I do see, but I don't see everything. I could just make an educated assumption, and I have to start to say, geez, you know what? A whole not a lot of people there, but I don't know who's buying. If there's someone spending big bucks, okay, that's great. But these restaurant and bar owners, they got to deal with their suppliers. There's health inspections that costs, especially if they fail. They want to pay that. Everything costs. So that's why Deb and I we really try. And Deb's man, I am so blessed and so happy and fortunate that she's not just my wife. She runs the music because she knows how. She's smarter than me. She's way smarter than me, and I have absolutely no shame in admitting it. If you got a good partnership, you're doing yourself more harm if you have an ego and you want all the attention, because you might get all the attention, meaning you also might get the job assignment to start doing the bookings and the book work, the accounting, and if you're really not strong at that, you have to be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I gotta pull back. I need the help. I can't do this all on my own. There's no shame in that. Um, I am fortunate that I can talk with the club owners because I've done that in the past, a lot. But it could be very interesting what could start to happen with this if this starts to take shape with this if they start franchising or leasing the music and get this idea. Because, you know, if Gene Simmons thinks about it, so does everybody else. Ozzy Osbourne, he's kind of in bad health, as we know. If he wants his music to continue, his son Jack and his daughter Kelly, they could say, his wife Sherry could say, okay, let's start to sit down at the table here, at the round think table, and let's plan our work and then work our plan. And we can start seeing this, you know, as a strong possibility if it's not already happening, you know, underneath. Not so much on the spotlight, but little by little, the waters are being tested. Let's see what happens. Let's do a few months with this kind of experiment and then see what the results are. If the results are positive, let's move forward with this. And again, it could affect everybody, and hopefully not on a negative way. But if it does, and if you're able to write your own music, you know, you cannot be afraid of people not liking what you do, because you're going to get that. You're not going to please everybody. You cannot be afraid to fail at something, because that's how you're going to know how to succeed. You know? And I'll tell you what, if you get enough negatives against you, that sometimes is your savings grace, because it strengthens you. Because you're so immune to all the negative, it doesn't even faze you. When I go out and I play, and I'm not better than anybody else out there. Trust me, I'm just me. I just do what I do. Even if there's people who are not listening, I try to give it my all, because I like what I'm doing. And I miss the days where you go and you watch a performance and it took you away. And like when you go to the movie theater, Deb and I went to the movie theater Sunday, and you know, there was a statement made, you know, before the movie plays, you got all these advertisements and all this, you know, eat your juju beans and all this other crap, and buy at the concession stand, little urine sample cup of soda, you know, costs maybe like $5, you know, little box of Milk Duds that you get at Walmart for $99 is like $6, you know. But it was an interesting statement that was saying, you know, with movies, it is your outlet for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. You're transported to a different world. So that's the effect that music had on me. So that's why I do the things I do when I play live. There are times I'm tired, there are times I make mistakes, I'm only human, but my mindset is like that. It's not like, who likes this song? Oh, you like this song? Who likes this song? You know, I really can't operate like that, because to me it's not natural. Some people can, well then that's their gig. And that's why it's to me it's so important to have a lot of different things out there. Because if everyone's doing the same thing, which they have been doing it, if they're doing it down here, they're doing it everywhere else. Everywhere you got an opportunity for live music, like if you go down, I think it's Broadway Street in Nashville, Tennessee, you know, you got a whole strip of the restaurant and bars. And if they're all playing the same songs, what makes it special? You know, where is the difference? Where can I go somewhere and see what these people have to offer? You know, it's like if you go to a bookstore, if you're heavily into, you know, novels, and you buy one book and you go back to the bookstore, and every shelf it's that same book, or it's the same thing. There's no difference. You know, it's like, where's it? So it kind of kills the creative outlet, and that's what is needed in the music scene. And this could be the tip of the iceberg of a turning point we might see. I could be wrong. I am not trying to spread rumors or anything like that. I'm just conveying what I have seen and what I see that goes on out there in the live gigging world. And you know, it doesn't take much to put two and two together. And it's interesting. You know, for people who tell me, in order for me to get the gigs, you gotta sing and you gotta play covers. Well, some places that's their criteria. Okay, that's fine. That's your criteria. It's not for me. Wish you the best. Then I don't solicit that place. Well, Dave, you could get all the gigs. See, you could play at all these places. I've been there and done that. So it's like, at some point, where is the creative outlet for if you're a creative person? See, sometimes you have to make that stand. So maybe you gotta work at the guitar center. So what? If it doesn't really bother you, but it bothers you more that you gotta play stuff that you don't like listening to, well then why do it? Because you're not gonna please those people. You're not gonna get their attention. Because for some people who don't realize this, the average listener is a lot smarter than you might think. They could tell if you're faking it, if you're not into it, they don't like. They would much rather see someone do something that they're not a big fan of that style of music, but at least, man, they look like they're having the time of their life. Man, I'm having fun watching this guy. I don't even like this music. He's not singing. I want to hear people sing, but he looks like he's having fun. I'm enjoying myself. This band over here, they're singing and they're not. Sometimes they're not singing all that great. What do they sing? But they look like they don't even want to be here. Geez, I feel like I'm at the DMV to renew my license or something. That's the vibe they giving me. But this guy gives me like, hey, this is cool, and I'm hearing something I would have never heard. Little by little, I try to change up my program, but at the same time, we are trying to sell that CD. And if tell you what, if this was a major record contract, if this was a major and we were on a tour, we have to play that music. When you go to the concerts, especially back in the day, you go to see your favorite band. They may do a version of a cover here or there, but mostly they're selling their music. And if they got a new CD out, you know, new music out, they're gonna play that because the contract is we gotta sell this. I mean, a lot of people understand that, you know. But if you want in the comments, I think I lost my live stream or the comments. They disappear on this thing sometimes, guys. I might have to watch the replay. I apologize that I'm not responding to anybody, but see, nothing's coming up. It stopped at Dwight. Awesome acoustic guitar, sounds great. And okay, well here's I've got a Gibson Hummingbird that's got a LR. Yeah, LR bags are great pickups, and it only has a volume wheel. Yeah, that's I know they do it. Those LR bags systems are fantastic. That's why you're gonna pay what you're gonna pay, because they're very well balanced. And then of course the Gibson Hummingbird has got a great sound. So if they're trying to pick up the sound wave from the resonance of the body, well, yeah, it's good. It's good. It sounds good. And again, LR Bags is a company that, like Fishman, that specializes in acoustic instruments, acoustic sound. So, but yeah, guys, and this is not to be negative or depressing or anything like that, you know. But it's just very interesting what I saw and what I see out there. And then we get like if you in your town you could look Craigslist, musicians wanted. Me and my friend Gordy, he's one of the other drivers. He's a drummer. And he's a great drummer, man. We have our jam sessions. We haven't had him in like quite a while, but I've got some jam sessions recorded with him, and we talk about Craigslist. I see the ads that go up there, and they're all trying to get back out there playing. First of all, especially down here after the hurricane, it's going to be very hard to pay a full band what they used to be able to pay. They might be able to do it once in a while, or for those businesses that are up and running and they're doing great. God bless you. You want to pay your musicians, go for it. God bless you. But you have to take in consideration that they have a huge financial hit. So that could take a while before they're able to pay a full band at all. But then I'll see some of the other ads with they're trying to get back out there you know, and they're all putting the same song list together. And now time has gone by where enough people said, well, I got to hear Sweet Home Alabama again. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear it. So it would be a wise idea for them not to look at it where nobody wants. There's a saying that I've heard people say down here. Nobody wants to hear original music. How do you know? See, be good at your craft, and people are gonna take notice. Not egotistical, but just be good at your craft. If you sound good, those who love music are gonna turn. They're gonna notice it. You could get those that are the people call the professional drinkers. They're always gonna get that, and they're nice people. They support the business, and I got conversations with people who don't like my music, but then I'll also have a conversation with them that they like me as a human being. Well, that's fine. That's great. You know. There's a couple of channels for people who want to go out and gig, and there is a couple of channels that I definitely highly recommend. That specifically for out there gigging. One is this guy. He lives in North California, the northern part of California. His name is Jeffrey Dean. His channel is the Solo Gigging Life, and he does a lot of acoustic numbers. He does also play electric guitar. He told me he's got the Boss GT1. Very experienced guitarist, man. I mean, he's been around for a while, and he's very good at what he does. And he puts up the videos. He's done like a rig rundown, and a lot of great insight. Even if you don't play the style of music he plays, it's still a very valuable channel to watch because he's got a lot of positive advice. And then you have here, there's a guy that's up in the Bradenton, Tampa area. His name is Jason Stallworth. And I think what's cool with Jason, he has, he still has his heavy metal stuff he does that's on YouTube. And as live gigs, he'll be doing the solo acoustic with his electric guitar. And his gig is he does mostly 80s covers with a touch of 70s music. And sometimes his wife joins in and singing. I know Jeffrey Dean out in California, his wife comes out to the gigs and helps set up and that and run the sound and that. So it's nice to see, a couple of guys out there, the spouse, the wife is helping and doing the work. Not just, it's nice your wife helps. No, she's a major part of major part of the equation there. But I think those are good channels to watch because they give you some really good insight. I know there's another guy I've seen, Peter Cruz. He does a lot of live streaming. Keeps it, old school metal. Great channel, man. The guy's a great guitar player. So I just wanted to give those shout outs, as well as Joe Winch Project. Of course, Dwight Bailey and everyone that's out there. Metalhead Hippie. What's nice with Metalhead Hippie, he spotlights a lot of YouTubers and helps them out. Great guy, great channel. And I say this because a lot of people are basically putting themselves out there. They're, this is their only outlet, and this is a great outlet. I'll tell you what, man, this is great because you don't have to drag gear around and wear yourself out. But hopefully, for the covers, we could start to see something that kind of level the playing field. Make the club owners say, "Wow, we got these people that are writing their own music. Let's give them a chance again." Because, yeah, I remember those days when we had that music scene and keeping it fresh. And then for the people who want to do the covers, well, let's keep that going. And if they have to pay a fee, just ride with these changes. Don't let them get you down. And if you do get, if you need to vent, my advice is do the best you can with not venting and trashing and bashing people on especially social media because that word gets around, man. And then when you go out to play, boy, you'll come up all right. Oh, they'll remember you, but not in a good way. So just remember that. So, anyways, tomorrow is another new NGD, New Gear Day. Yeah, I wonder what it's gonna be. Let me think. I know what it's gonna be. The roof is going on tomorrow. That's what's the new. So it'll be quite some time before we buy some gear, which I'm okay with that. at some point, what are you going to do? Buy everything that's out there so you could say you have it, you know? That's nice if you're a collector. If you want to do that, that's fine. But there will come a time when it's like the novelty wore off. Now what? You know? Anyways, my friends, we do have our gig Saturday. 6 to 9, we are at University Villages. We'll be outside. It's the small shopping mall, restaurants that's by the college that's there in Estero, Estero, Florida. Jeez. And it'll be 6 to 9. And then we'll be back at Jungle Bird on Monday, another 6 to 9. And I know there's something going on Sunday. I can't remember what it is now. I think there's some sporting event. Yeah. Maybe I'll do a halftime because I don't know what the halftime is going to be, man. Anyways, go Cubbies, go Bears, huh? Anyways, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. And again, I'm going to have to watch the replay to check out all the comments because, again, sometimes they just disappear and it's like they don't come up on the phone. And but I do appreciate all you guys' support and all of that. It really does mean a lot. And I keep everything up so that if you need to watch later, that's why I keep them up. It's sharing information. It's not about me. Oh, geez, you know, I had 1.5 billion prescriptions, and views, and one person dropped off, and the world comes to an end. Oh, what am I gonna do? No, I don't care about that. It's always about the message, you know. That's what's more important. And if it can help somebody, hey, that's what for. And if not, no problems. You're still my friends. Anyways, my friends, until next time, you have a great rest of your week. You stay strong, safe, and true. Rock on, and God bless you, my friends. Thanks for watching. We love you all. Take care. Good night.